On July 18th, 20-year-old college sophomore Mollie Tibbetts went for a jog in Brooklyn, Iowa, a small town of under 2,000 people. She was last seen about 7:30 p.m. local time that night, but she didn't return home. She didn't go to work the next morning. She just vanished. A police search began. There were some 2,300 tips to authorities, some 500 interviews conducted, and countless acres of rural Iowa land searched, but still no sign of her, until Tuesday when we finally learned what happened. Or at least most of what happened. Police used area surveillance cameras to observe a Chevy Malibu repeatedly driving back and forth in the area where Mollie was jogging that night. They connected the car to their suspect, 24-year-old Christian Rivera, a Mexican illegal immigrant who, upon interrogation, confessed to kidnapping, killing, and dumping Mollie's body in a shallow cornfield grave. He says he followed her in his car, chased her on foot, she threatened to call the police, and the rest is how we got to hear. Specific details about the violent interim aren't currently available. The confessed killer says he blocked parts of his memory out, whatever that means. But we do know the state medical examiner's office says Mollie died of sharp force injuries, additional autopsy results forthcoming. The suspect, Rivera, had been working at an area dairy farm, reportedly using false identification documents in applying for his job. And he's apparently been still working there in the month since the killing, but nobody noticed anything different or suspicious about him. And predictably, many media outlets are minimizing or euphemizing that key detail about the suspect using the politically correct terms you'd expect. He's not illegal, he's an undocumented immigrant. In fact, this particular CNN piece not only omits the suspect's illegal status, it actually omits any mention of immigration at all. To be fair to CNN and other outlets, the suspect's lawyer says Rivera is in fact in the US illegally, or at least that he is not an illegal immigrant, but the lawyer has offered no evidence to support this claim. And if it's simply a game of who do you believe, I'll take US Citizenship and Immigration Services, who say they have no record in their system indicating the suspect has any lawful immigration status. Regardless, ambiguity about the facts is not why media and politicians choose to minimize or omit information in this case. They do it because they have a narrative to maintain, politics to pursue, an agenda to protect. And to that end, a lot of the commentary on this story wasn't just negligent, it seemed purposefully deflective and deceptive. An MSNBC panelist described Mollie Tibbetts as some girl in Iowa, just a Fox News obsession.
Well, Fox News is talking about, a girl in Iowa and not this.
Elizabeth Warren probably ended her presidential campaign before it even started on CNN Wednesday morning. She was asked about the breaking Mollie Tibbetts news, and she deflected to what she says is the real problem: child separation at the border.
Her body believed to be found yesterday. A person has been charged with it. This person is an undocumented immigrant. Your reaction?
I'm so sorry for the family here, and I know this is hard, not only for the family, but for the people in her community, the people throughout Iowa.
But there it is.
We need an immigration system that is effective, that focuses on where real problems are. Last month, I went down to the border and I saw where children had been taken away from their mothers. I met with those mothers. Separating a mama from a baby does not make this country safer.
Okay, beyond the fact that this has almost nothing to do with Mollie Tibbetts or the question you were asked, do you know who is now permanently separated from her mama, Senator Warren? Mollie Tibbetts. But excuse me for worrying about American citizen child separation over foreign nationals with no respect for our law. Both this Yahoo author and CNN commentator Simone Sanders blame toxic masculinity for what happened. Nothing to do with border security at all, just men who can't control themselves. And she wrote full stop at the end, so we know this discussion is now settled. Even Mollie's family joined the dialogue. I take no joy in challenging a victimized family, but they voluntarily entered the political realm, and so it's in the political realm only that I will meet them. One relative says that evil comes in every color. Granted, but not all evil has a legal right to be here, and that's the point. It's not about race, it's about legal presence of any race. This article about Mollie's family in People magazine continues to note studies that show illegal immigrants do not commit crime more than citizens. And that's false, since by definition, all illegal immigrants are criminals. But I get get what they mean. They mean crimes in addition to their crime of crossing the border illegally. It's a talking point you'll see commonly referenced. Author Stephen King took to Twitter this week to minimize the Mollie Tibbetts case and remind us that U.S. citizen Stephen Paddock shot 58 people dead in Las Vegas last October. And on your social media, if you've got virtuous friends like mine, you've probably seen iterations of this same point circulating. Nope. Illegal immigration has nothing to do with this case. Illegal immigrants don't commit more crime than the citizen population anyway. All of these arguments, from Elizabeth Warren to Stephen King, dismiss the importance of the killer's legal status under the premise that all killing is bad. Therefore, a killing by an illegal immigrant is bad, just like a killing by a legal citizen is bad. Murder is murder. It's all just a wash of wrong. And in moral terms, maybe that's true. But this perspective overlooks a very important difference. It's the nature of the risk that we as a society agree to accept. Murder, like all crimes, is a necessary consequence of freedom. And we'd like to prevent murder, sure. But ultimately, we as a society have decided that we value our personal freedom and liberty above oppressive security, and we've crafted our laws to reflect those values. Sure, what Stephen Paddock did was awful, and we all hope it never happens again, but we've also decided that we want the freedom to go gambling in Las Vegas, and to get a hotel room with a certain degree of privacy, and yes, to buy and own guns, to do all the things that Stephen Paddock did before the shooting that are not themselves crimes. And we understand the risks in affording our citizens those freedoms, and unfortunately, sometimes those risks become reality, but they are risks that we all decided we are willing to accept. Not the case with an illegal immigrant, though. In fact, the opposite is true. The risk that Christian Rivera presented in Iowa, the risk that took Mollie Tibbetts' life, is not a risk that we as a society agreed to accept. That's why we have laws to that effect. Laws that say, no, we reject the danger of unvetted foreign nationals entering our country without authorization to be here. It's a risk that would be eliminated if the laws that we agreed to were properly enforced. So I don't actually care who commits more crime between illegal immigrants and U.S. citizens. To me, it's an irrelevant question. One is a group of people with a legal right to be here, including all the freedoms that affords, including the freedom to act badly. And the other isn't. In simple terms, citizens killing citizens is an inherent risk of the system we all agreed to create. Foreign invaders killing citizens is not. And to treat that distinction as irrelevant undercuts the entire value of the rule of law. It's a strange thing to see from people who are more often observed advocating for additional law. Stephen King is still tweeting, for example, taking a break from saying immigration law is irrelevant to say we need more gun regulation. Either the laws should be enforced or they shouldn't. But the standard cannot simply be laws Stephen King personally likes versus laws that he doesn't. He's not a real king. If you believe in the rule of law, if you believe in enforcing it and mitigating the risks that we as a society have agreed to reject, the Mollie Tibbetts case matters. The legal status of her killer matters. To argue otherwise is to argue against the very nature and purpose of the law itself. Thanks as always for listening and for supporting this channel. Always appreciate that thoughtful discussion down below, and especially over on Twitter. That is at ML Christiansen. You're always welcome to come hang out and chat in my live streams. Those are linked down in the description. Looking forward to it. Goodbye.